Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Andrew, and this is my 2011 C6 Grand Sport. Earlier this summer, I posted a video on my Instagram showing how I could activate my MSD launch controller from the factory steering wheel controls. After posting that video, I had quite a few messages asking how I was able to wire that in to work from the factory controls on the steering wheel. So I figured I'd throw a quick video up explaining how exactly I did that. Before I get into the details of that, I do want to mention, once doing this, you will lose your factory controls on the steering wheel. You'll no longer be able to use volume controls and all that. Any controls on the steering wheel will turn into the launch control trigger button. So if you want to retain those features on your steering wheel, then I wouldn't try to activate your MSD controller from the steering wheel. I would try to go a different route, maybe mount a separate independent button on the steering wheel, or some guys trigger it via the clutch, or have a switch on the center console or somewhere easy to grab. But I found it was most useful to have it right on my steering wheel where my thumb could easily get to it. So here's the MSD launch controller. I have it pulled out here so you can see better. There's a harness that goes across and attaches to the wiring harness for the coil packs on this side, and then on this side as well. And then you have a 12-volt trigger wire here that I'm not using. I utilized the trigger wire for ground, and I actually used a coat hanger. I tied the trigger wire to the coat hanger, or taped it, and then I just poked it through an existing grommet down here. And I'll show you on the inside where it comes through. Right here, you can actually pull some of this plastic back and get to the rubber grommet a little better, but this wire just runs up through the dash to the wires that go to the back of the radio. And I'll get this pulled apart and show you how I did that. All right, so I got the radio pulled out, and this is the plug you want to find right here. It's the large plug that goes to the back of the radio. This car has an aftermarket radio that the previous owner put in. Honestly, he did kind of a hack job, but I don't care. I don't use radio, and as I said, don't use these controls other than for my two-step. So you want to go to this plug, and you can see there's A12 right here, and then there's, get that to focus, A1 on this side. So you just count over. This is A1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, blah, 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 all the way to 12. So you want to find the 6 and 7, which are these two wires right here, the blue and purple. I just cut them off. Those two wires run from the steering wheel controls to this plug. Those are the only two wires that run to the steering wheel. Each of these buttons is a resistor, and when you press a button, that resistor sends a signal to the radio, and that's how the radio can tell which button is being pressed. That's why there's only two wires, because all of these buttons have resistive values. So yeah, we cut these wires, and then I have the blue wire here coming from the MSD through the firewall, as I described earlier, and I tie that into the blue wire in this harness. I just picked the blue wire. It doesn't matter which wire you tie in to the trigger wire going to the MSD. You can just pick one. All it is a switch, so you're just closing the circuit. Pretty simple. So I tied into the blue wire, which goes from the MSD to the steering wheel control, and then from the steering wheel control, this purple wire comes back, and I'm triggering with ground, as I described before. So I took a wire from that purple wire, and I'll have to grab a flashlight because it's hard to see. And now I lost my flashlight. So we're gonna have to just try to zoom in here. So yeah, there's a screw back here in the dash. I just took it to ground, but basically that's how you do it. You just tie into those two wires, and away you go. You got a two-step. Now, if you guys like this video and you want to see more about the car, I plan on posting some videos this winter I'm going to be throwing an ANA V3 Ti kit on the car and switching over to E85. So I got a pile of parts ready to go. I have had this car for about a year and a half, and when I got it, it was just full bolt on. It was pretty nice. It had 420 horse, but I quickly grew out of that, and it currently has a Brian Tooley red hot cam in it. I ended up doing lifters and trunnion upgrade, and then while I was in there, I threw a new oil pump and pinned the crank to get ready for the supercharger. And then it's got a monster twin disc clutch, and I rebuilt the torque tube and whatnot. But that stuff was all last winter, and this winter we're gonna do the supercharger kit. So make sure you follow along on my Instagram, Rip That Vet, or just over here on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in.